Did you know that most people who seem perfectly healthy and vibrant in their 70s still don't make it to 85? Not because of some sudden catastrophe, but because of 5 sneaky, everyday mistakes they're making without even realizing it? These aren't the big, scary health scares you've heard about. They're the quiet habits, like skipping those little daily movements or letting loneliness creep in, that silently erode your strength, sharpness, and spark over time, turning what could be your golden years into a struggle you never saw coming. But here's the game changer. By the end of this video, you'll uncover exactly what those 5 avoidable traps are, straight from real stories of folks who've beaten the odds, plus simple, doable steps you can start today to flip the script on aging and reclaim the long, vibrant life you deserve. So stick around until the very last second, because that one final insight could be the key to adding not just years to your life, but life to your years. Before we begin, I would appreciate it if you like this video, you can help me continue to spread the old age lesson. If you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like this video, please comment number 1. If you don't like it, comment number 0 to let me know, so I can make a better video for you. Now let's get started. Mistake 1. Ignoring everyday movement. The first major mistake that so many people fall into after turning 65 is the misguided belief that only structured, high-intensity exercise truly counts towards staying healthy and vibrant. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Those grueling cardio sessions at upscale gyms, elaborate home workout routines with apps and timers, or trendy fitness classes that demand more energy and flexibility than your daily schedule can realistically accommodate anymore. Life after 65 often comes with its own rhythm. Grandkids to chase, errands to run, or simply savoring a quiet morning coffee without the pressure of a sweat-soaked calendar. And yet, this narrow view of exercise leads countless older adults to throw in the towel entirely, convinced that if they can't commit to something formal and demanding, why bother at all? But let me pull back the curtain on a vital truth. It's not the treadmill or the weight room that holds the real key to a longer, more independent life. No, the unsung heroes are those subtle, seamless daily movements woven right into the fabric of your routine. The ones that whisper vitality back into your bones without fanfare. Picture this, ambling out to the mailbox at the end of your driveway, feeling the gravel crunch underfoot as you retrieve your mail, kneeling in the garden to gently tug at stubborn weeds, your fingers sifting through cool soil, stretching up on tiptoes to grasp a high shelf in the cupboard for that favorite mug, or even pacing the kitchen while chatting animatedly on the phone with a friend, refusing to let the conversation anchor you to a chair. These aren't glamorous feats, but they are your body's stealthy allies in the battle against the slow creep of decline. Every time you engage in them, you're sending a clear signal to your muscles, joints, and cardiovascular system. We're still in this together. Conversely, when these micro-movements dwindle, even if it's just a gradual reduction over weeks or months, your body responds in kind. Muscles that once fired effortlessly begin to atrophy, losing tone and power with alarming subtlety. Joints, deprived of their natural lubrication from motion, grow rigid and achy, turning simple tasks like tying shoelaces into ordeals. Balance, that delicate equilibrium we take for granted, frays at the edges, making stairs or uneven sidewalks feel like treacherous terrain. The truly insidious aspect? These shifts unfold so gradually that they're easy to dismiss as just getting older. You might not register the warning until it's too late. A sudden stumble on a throw rug sends you tumbling, or the exhaustion of buttoning a shirt leaves you winded and defeated. That's the stealthy origin of frailty, not a dramatic crash, but a series of hushed erosions that snowball into lost mobility and eroded confidence. And it's far more than just the physical toll. Movement is the lifeblood of your entire ecosystem. Your heart, your mind, your mood. Each step circulates oxygen-rich blood to far-flung corners of your body, including the brain, where it sparks sharper thinking and wards off the fog of cognitive slowdown. It triggers endorphins, those natural mood elevators that chase away the shadows of low spirits, and it engages your respiratory system to deepen breaths, fortifying bones against osteoporosis while keeping your gut humming along smoothly. On the flip side, a sedentary existence, hours upon hours melting into the couch or desk chair, triggers a cascade of quiet betrayals. Your metabolism idles, blood flow stagnates, and inflammation simmers unchecked. It's as if your body, sensing disuse, shifts into conservation mode. If we're not needed for action, let's conserve resources for, well, nothing much. Over time, this manifests as creeping fatigue, heightened vulnerability to illness, and a subtle dimming of life's vibrancy. Science backs this up with compelling evidence. A landmark study from the American Journal of Epidemiology tracked thousands of older adults and found that interrupting prolonged sitting with just 3 minutes of light activity, like standing to stretch or strolling to the window, every 30 minutes slashed the risk of premature death by more than 30%. We're talking about effortless motions here. No burpees, no barbells, just the gentle art of not staying still. Yet, despite this, the underestimation persists. Too many of us view movement as an all-or-nothing proposition, missing how these tiny habits compound into profound protection. Let me illustrate with a real-life story that hits close to home. Meet Walter, a 78-year-old retired bus driver from the rolling farmlands of Iowa. After decades of navigating city routes and wrangling rowdy passengers, retirement felt like a well-earned exhale. He settled into a cozy routine of reading the paper, watching game shows, and puttering occasionally in his garage. No major aches, no glaring red flags, just a vague sense that the world was moving a tad faster than he was. "I feel slower and stiffer with each passing year," he confided to his daughter one crisp autumn afternoon, as they raked leaves together. But it wasn't until a minor mishap, slipping while swinging his legs out of bed one morning, that the reality sharpened. Bruised but unbroken, he visited his doctor, who delivered a sobering assessment. "Walter, your core strength and flexibility are eroding quicker than they should at your age. If we don't turn this around, you're courting bigger risks." That prognosis lit a fire under him, but Walter wasn't about to dust off sneakers for spin class. Instead, he crafted a deceptively simple pact with himself: no lounging for longer than 30 minutes without some form of interruption. It could be as mundane as rising to refill his water glass, executing a few seated marches during a TV commercial, wandering to the backyard to inspect his tomato plants, or even performing gentle calf raises while waiting for the kettle to boil. No timers, no trackers, just instinctual nudges toward action. Fast forward 6 months, and Walter was a changed man. "I swear I shaved off 5 years, he chuckled to his daughter, demonstrating with newfound ease how he could now squat to pick up a dropped tool without groaning. His steps had spring, his posture stood taller, and that pervasive stiffness? A distant memory. The magic wasn't in Herculean effort. It was in the reclamation of motion as a non-negotiable thread in his day. Why does this oversight sting so deeply? It stems from a pervasive, defeatist narrative that seeps into our culture. Slowing down is an inevitable surrender to age. Sure, a touch of moderation is biology's due. Our recovery isn't as spry as in our 30s, but outright stagnation? That's a choice, and a costly one. By deeming everyday movement optional, we unwittingly accelerate the very losses we dread. The cane that becomes a crutch, the reluctance to venture out, the erosion of hard-won independence. Longevity, it turns out, isn't reserved for the elite athletes or the perpetually youthful. It's the domain of the steadfast, the everyday warriors who commit to consistency over intensity. A circuit around the block, a stretch during halftime. It's these that etch resilience into your story. So, if you're navigating your 60s or beyond with eyes on 85 and a full, feisty life ahead, etch this into your mind. Every motion matters, no matter how modest. You don't need a medal or a membership. You need only the resolve to keep the wheels turning. Because the instant you halt, your body begins scripting an alternate chapter, one of quiet retreat that steals your tomorrows. Defy it. Keep striding to the door. Keep bending to tie those laces. Keep rising to greet the day. In motion lies your margin for more years, more moments, more you. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. Mistake 2. Skipping preventive health checks. One of the most tragically underappreciated factors keeping people from crossing the threshold into their mid-80s isn't a bolt-from-the-blue catastrophe like a car crash or a virulent flu outbreak. No, it's the stealthy accumulation of undetected issues, the ones that burrow deep without fanfare, only to erupt when it's hardest to fight back. This oversight thrives on a common habit among those over 65. Treating doctors' visits as optional pit stops, reserved strictly for acute pains or fevers, while routine screenings gather dust on the calendar. Small symptoms, a fleeting headache, a touch of puffiness around the ankles, get chalked up to normal wear and tear, and before long, proactive care fades into the background. But this passive drift isn't harmless. It's a high-stakes gamble that can shave precious years from your timeline. Consider the culprits lurking in the shadows. Conditions like hypertension, where arteries silently constrict under pressure, type 2 diabetes, with its insidious assault on blood vessels and nerves, or early-stage cancers in the colon, breast, or prostate, which masquerade as nothing more than vague unease. These aren't the screamers. They don't announce themselves with chest-clutching agony or collapse. Instead, they operate like termites in a foundation, gnawing at your cardiovascular health, taxing your kidneys, or sapping your immune defenses with surgical precision. By the point symptoms crash the party: blurred vision, unexplained swelling, or unrelenting fatigue. The infiltration may be advanced, demanding aggressive interventions that drain resources and resilience. The silver lining. Early detection flips the script. With timely intervention, blood pressure can be tamed through lifestyle tweaks and meds. Prediabetes can retreat with dietary vigilance. Precancerous growths can be snipped before they spread. The linchpin is vigilance, showing up before the crisis does. Yet herein lies the human hurdle, our innate aversion to the unknown. Who relishes the sterile chill of a waiting room, the prick of a needle, or the vulnerability of spilling your health history to a white-coated stranger? It's easier to scroll past the reminder text, to rationalize, "I'm too busy," or "it's probably nothing." For folks in their later decades, this becomes akin to piloting an aging vehicle down a foggy highway without ever popping the hood. The dashboard gleams reassuringly until steam billows from the radiator, stranding you at the worst possible juncture. Too often, this lands seniors in the ER's harsh lights, hearing the gut-wrenching refrain, "If only we'd spotted this 6 months ago." Allow me to share Evelyn's journey, a testament to the power of persistence. At 72, this spirited grandmother from the heartland of Ohio was the picture of contentment, baking pies for church potlucks, doting on her grandkids during weekend visits, and tending a modest herb garden that scented her kitchen with basil and thyme. Sure, she brushed off the occasional wave of midday drowsiness as just the summer heat, but otherwise, life hummed along without complaint. It took her daughter's gentle but firm nudge, "Mom, humor me with a full checkup, better safe than sorry," to get her through the clinic doors. What emerged from the labs was a wake-up call. Her fasting blood glucose hovered in the pre-diabetic red zone, a silent saboteur that could have escalated to full-blown diabetes, inviting complications like neuropathy or heart strain. Undeterred, Evelyn embraced the intel like a roadmap out of trouble. She dialed back on the after-dinner candy dish, swapping it for crisp apple slices, wove in leisurely post-sunset strolls around the neighborhood, chatting with passing dog walkers, and leaned on her doctor's tailored guidance for portion tweaks and hydration hacks. Come the 1-year mark, her follow-up panel glowed green. No pills required, no ER detours, just the quiet triumph of foresight fueling her freedom. She confided to her daughter, "I had no idea a few numbers could unlock so much energy. I feel ready for another decade of grand kid chaos." At the root of this evasion, a cocktail of fears that we all grapple with, amplified by age's mirror. Dread of dire diagnoses, the sting of confronting mortality, or the discomfort of unsolicited advice, it all conspires to keep us sidelined. Paradoxically, though, stepping into that arena disarms the anxiety, handing you the reins. Knowledge illuminates your inner workings, empowering targeted countermeasures, a low-sodium swap here, a stress-busting meditation there. It transforms vague worries into actionable strategies, drawing a stark line between those who navigate their 80s with vigor and those sidelined in their 70s by preventable pitfalls. Layered atop this is the seductive myth of blissful ignorance. Out of sight, out of mind. For the young and invincible, maybe. But past 65, ignorance is the blindfold that invites ambush. Screenings aren't morbid rituals. They're proactive shields, colonoscopies peering into hidden bends, mammograms mapping subtle shadows, routine BP cuffs gauging silent surges, PSA tests flagging prostate whispers. They erect invisible barriers on life's curvy path, steadying your course through fog-shrouded turns. And don't overlook the psychological dividends. Beyond staving off disease, these check-ins cultivate a sanctuary of serenity. Familiarity with your metrics fosters trust in your physician's partnership. A collaborative health blueprint breeds optimism. This assurance cascades outward. Sounder slumbers, dialed-down cortisol, amplified adherence to nourishing routines. It's a virtuous cycle, where one informed visit begets a dozen empowered days. Mistake 3. Isolating yourself from others. Among the most understated threats to longevity in later years isn't the usual suspects like cardiovascular woes or malignancy. It's the pervasive ache of loneliness, a silent epidemic eroding lives from within. We shy away from naming it, perhaps because it feels intangible, But isolation rivals the lethality of a pack-a-day habit, uncontrolled hypertension, or excess weight on the scales of risk. As connections fray, friends scatter with relocations or retirements, family orbits widen with their own demands, community ties loosen amid shifting neighborhoods, something profound atrophies. Purpose, that inner compass, flickers, resilience frays, and inexorably, the physical vessel bears the brunt, mirroring the heart's quiet withdrawal. This isn't a call for non-stop revelry or a revolving door of visitors cluttering your space. True, it's the essence of authentic bonds, the easy banter over shared recipes, the unguarded vent sessions that lighten invisible loads, the spark of mutual recognition in a knowing glance. Yet, as decades accumulate, withdrawal becomes a reflex. Grief over departed spouses or siblings carves hollows too raw to fill. Self-doubt whispers that our stories aren't worth retelling, or a polite facade masks the plea, "Don't burden them with my frailties." So we retreat, to the armchair's embrace, the TV's glow, the echo of unspoken thoughts. Gradually, we fade not only from others' radars but from our own narrative, a self-erasure that's as heartbreaking as it is hazardous. The data drives this home with unflinching clarity. Meta-analyses in journals like Perspectives on Psychological Science reveal that chronic loneliness in seniors elevates premature mortality odds by 26% to 45%, a toll comparable to air pollution's grip or alcoholism's snare. The mechanisms are merciless. Disrupted circadian rhythms breed fitful nights. Cortisol floods suppress immunity, inviting infections. Melancholy spirals into clinical blues, fogging cognition and sharpening stroke's edge. Our neural wiring craves social synapses like parched roots seek rain, deprive it, and pathways wither, memory lapses widen, and executive function stutters. Enter George, a 78-year-old Arizonan whose tale underscores redemption's reach. Sun-baked Phoenix had been home to his 50-year marriage, a tapestry of road trips, backyard barbecues, and late-night stargazing with his late wife, Clara. Her passing from a swift illness left him adrift in a too-quiet bungalow, his days a monochrome blur of grocery runs and solitary suppers. For nearly 2 years, dialogue dwindled to pleasantries with the postal carrier or curt exchanges at the pharmacy counter. The fallout was visceral. Appetite vanished, leaving hollow cheeks. Grooming rituals lapsed amid ennui. Chronic arthritis, once a minor nag, roared unchecked, confining him to creaky orbits around the house. Salvation arrived unbidden via a persistent neighbor, Maria, who'd spotted his curtained windows and waved one too many times. "George, Wednesdays at 10, coffee and checkers at the rec center. Come grouse about the heat with us old-timers," she insisted. Resistance mounted, visions of awkward silences, feeling like the odd relic, but curiosity cracked the door. That inaugural gathering unfolded in a sunlit room alive with chatter, tales of grandkids' antics, gripes over rising utility bills, the communal unraveling of a tricky puzzle. George's baritone joined the chorus tentatively, then with gusto. The ripple was revolutionary. Bonds blossomed, playful rivalries over board games, post-meet walks dissecting local news, rekindling a dormant zest. Mornings brightened with anticipation. Evenings eased into restorative rest. Even his joints, buoyed by endorphins and distraction, protested less fiercely. "I didn't realize how much I dimmed until the light came back," he reflected later, crediting not grand gestures but the simple validation of belonging. At its core, connection is life's elixir, infusing vitality across planes. The endorphin rush fortifying flesh, the empathy exchange mending psyche, the shared wisdom nourishing soul. Yet sustaining it demands initiative, especially when inertia tugs hardest. Dial that number gathering dust in your contacts. RSVP to the book club flyer pinned to the fridge. Initiate the wave that evolves into a porch confab. Passivity dooms us. Our counterparts juggle chaos, oblivious to our solitude. You're the architect of your outreach. Claim that role. Deeper still, seclusion robs not just your circle of your light, but you of your luminosity. It's amid dialogue's dance, humor's spark, visibility's warmth that humanity thrives, the unearthing of buried anecdotes, the bestowal of hard-earned insights that ripple outward. Your voice, your vantage, your very essence? Irreplaceable. And in turn, another's echo might be the balm your spirit craves. Feeling the pull of distance? Shun the quest for flawless timing. Commence modestly. Text a lapsed pal with a memory jog. Meander into the senior center's craft hour. Proffer a smile and query to the lawnmower next door. These tentative tendrils forge pathways homeward. traverse them, and rediscover not loss, but latent treasure. Your mirth, your mettle, your fire, patiently aglow, eager for rekindling. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. Mistake 4. Ignoring chronic inflammation. Here's a revelation that catches so many people over the age of 60 completely off guard, one they rarely consider amid the hustle of doctor's visits and daily routines. Those persistent, nagging aches in your knees that make climbing stairs a chore, the stubborn stiffness in your lower back that greets you every morning like an unwelcome guest, or the subtle puffiness in your fingers that makes gripping a coffee mug feel just a bit off. It's tempting to chalk it all up to the inevitable march of time. After all, aren't we told that joints wear out and bodies slow down with age? But what if I told you that these symptoms might not be solely the fault of Father Time? What if they're subtle signals of something far more insidious at play? Chronic inflammation. And here's the sobering truth. This isn't just about discomfort or minor annoyances that you can power through with a hot bath or an extra ibuprofen. When chronic inflammation simmers unchecked in your system, it acts like a silent saboteur, quietly ramping up your vulnerability to a cascade of serious health threats. We're talking about a heightened risk for cardiovascular disease, where inflamed arteries become prone to plaque buildup and blockages, neurodegenerative conditions like Alzheimer's, as inflammatory proteins infiltrate the brain and impair cognitive function, type 2 diabetes, fueled by insulin resistance exacerbated by ongoing inflammatory responses, debilitating arthritis that turns simple movements into painful ordeals, and, in the worst cases, a shortened lifespan, as studies link persistent low-grade inflammation to premature mortality from various causes. To understand why this matters so deeply, let's break down the biology in a way that's straightforward but eye-opening. Inflammation isn't inherently the villain. Far from it. In fact, it's one of your body's most brilliant defense mechanisms, designed to protect and repair. Think about it. When you slice your finger while chopping vegetables or twist an ankle on an uneven sidewalk, that immediate redness, swelling, and warmth? That's acute inflammation in action, a short-lived burst orchestrated by your immune system. White blood cells rush to the scene, chemicals like cytokines signal for reinforcements, and tissues begin to mend. Within days, or at most a couple of weeks, the process winds down, leaving you healed and stronger. It's efficient, targeted, and essential, like a well-rehearsed emergency response team that packs up and leaves once the job is done. But chronic inflammation? That's when the system goes haywire. Instead of a quick flare-up followed by resolution, it becomes a perpetual low hum, a state where your immune response stays activated day in and day out, as if your body is perpetually bracing for battle. Triggers can be sneaky and cumulative. Years of poor diet, unresolved stress, environmental toxins, or even lingering effects from past infections. Over time, this relentless mode shifts from protector to destroyer. Those same inflammatory agents that once healed wounds now turn inward, eroding healthy tissues, damaging blood vessel linings, stressing pancreatic cells, or inflaming neural pathways. It's a slow-motion betrayal from within. Picture it like this. Acute inflammation is akin to a controlled bonfire in your backyard, carefully managed to warm you on a cool evening before it's safely extinguished. Chronic inflammation, however, is more like a smoldering fire left unattended in the corner of your living room. At first, it's just a faint wisp of smoke, easy to ignore. But as embers glow and spread unnoticed, they char the carpet, weaken the floorboards, and fill the air with invisible toxins. It might not engulf the entire house in a blaze overnight, but day by day, the structural integrity crumbles, the walls blacken, the beams weaken, and before you know it, the whole foundation is compromised. That's chronic inflammation, insidious, incremental, and utterly destructive if you don't intervene. The tragedy is, for most people, there's no dramatic wake-up call, no blaring siren or flashing red light to scream, "Pay attention!" It creeps in disguised as the mundane frustrations of later life. You might notice a vague, bone-deep fatigue that lingers even after a full night's sleep, making it hard to muster enthusiasm for your favorite hobbies. Or perhaps a foggy haze settles over your thoughts, turning sharp conversations into frustrating struggles to find the right words. There could be mild swelling around your ankles after a long day on your feet, or that familiar stiffness in your neck and shoulders that eases only temporarily with a heating pad. These aren't isolated quirks. They're the body's whispered pleas, the early murmurs before the full-throated roar of disease sets in. Yet, all too often, Seniors wave them off as just getting old, dismissing their own vitality as a lost cause rather than recognizing a cry for intervention. Allow me to illustrate with a real-life example that hits close to home for many. Meet Nancy, a vibrant 73-year-old grandmother from a quiet suburb who, for over a year, had been battling what she called her mystery malaise. Her joints throbbed with a dull ache, especially in the evenings after chasing her grandkids around the park. Her energy levels had plummeted. She'd nod off during afternoon bridge games and drag herself through grocery runs. And those frequent colds. They seemed to strike every few weeks, leaving her bedridden and frustrated. At first, she blamed the weather, her age, even the stress of family holidays. But when a routine checkup turned into deeper testing, blood work revealing sky-high levels of C-reactive protein and other inflammatory markers, her doctor painted a clearer picture. Chronic inflammation was the root culprit, likely stoked by her reliance on convenience foods and a sedentary winter routine. Rather than reaching straight for a prescription pad loaded with anti-inflammatories that could bring their own side effects, her healthcare team opted for a holistic pivot, one grounded in empowerment and sustainability. Nancy committed to a gentle overhaul of her habits. She started by purging her pantry of ultra-processed culprits, those boxed meals, sugary cereals, and sodas that spike inflammation like gasoline on a flame. In their place, she wove in nutrient-dense, anti-inflammatory powerhouses. Fistfuls of vibrant leafy greens like spinach and kale in her salads, steaming mugs of golden turmeric tea spiced with black pepper for better absorption, and generous portions of wild-caught salmon twice weekly, rich in omega-3s that soothe inflamed tissues. Movement became non-negotiable too, a brisk 20-minute walk each morning, rain or shine, starting with loops around her block and building to neighborhood trails, all while listening to podcasts that kept her mind engaged. Fast forward 3 months, and Nancy's transformation was nothing short of remarkable. She wasn't magically 50 again, her knees still creaked on rainy days, but the difference was profound. Her joints glided with renewed ease, allowing her to dance at her son's wedding without wincing. That mental fog lifted, sharpening her focus for crossword puzzles and heartfelt chats with friends. Even her mood brightened, with fewer bouts of unexplained irritability and more spontaneous laughter echoing through her home. Why the uplift? Because chronic inflammation isn't confined to your muscles and bones. It seeps into every corner of your being, including the delicate ecosystem of your brain. When inflammatory cytokines cross the blood-brain barrier, they disrupt neurotransmitter balance, dampening serotonin for mood regulation, heightening cortisol for stress responses, and even altering gut-brain signals via the vagus nerve. The result? A heightened propensity for anxiety that knots your stomach before social outings, irritability that snaps at loved ones over trifles, or creeping depression that paints the world in grays. Over months or years, this emotional turbulence compounds, fostering isolation as you withdraw from gatherings, deepening fatigue that saps your will to engage, and breeding a sense of hopelessness that accelerates physical decline far sooner than biology demands. Yet, embedded in this cautionary tale is a beacon of hope, one that's more accessible than you might imagine. You wield far greater influence over inflammation than the pill bottles in your medicine cabinet suggest. It all hinges on proactive, everyday choices that compound into profound protection. Begin with your plate, the front line of this battle. Inflammatory accelerants like refined sugars in pastries and sodas, deep-fried temptations from fast food runs, and processed meats laden with preservatives actively stoke the flames, promoting oxidative stress and immune overdrive. Counter them deliberately with extinguishers from nature's arsenal. Antioxidant-packed berries like blueberries and strawberries that neutralize free radicals, heart-healthy olive oil drizzled on roasted veggies for its polyphenol punch, a handful of almonds or walnuts for anti-inflammatory fats, and soothing sips of green tea whose catechins calm cytokine storms. Layer on complementary pillars. Consistent, gentle movement to circulate lymph and reduce cytokine production. Restorative sleep that allows overnight repair cycles to reset your immune dial, and stress-taming practices like deep breathing or short meditations to lower cortisol, which otherwise amplifies inflammatory cascades. But the impact runs even deeper than these tactical wins. It's a profound psychological and existential shift. Each deliberate step you take to dial down inflammation broadcasts a vital message to your cells, your organs, and ultimately your spirit. I'm committed. I'm fighting back. This isn't the end of my story. That declaration alone rewires your resilience, transforming a passive acceptance of decline into an active embrace of possibility. Suddenly, you're not merely enduring the aches of age. You're reclaiming agency, fostering a mindset where vitality feels attainable. It flips the script from a narrative of loss to one of renewal, where mornings greet you with curiosity rather than dread, and each small victory builds momentum toward a fuller, fiercer life. So, if those subtle twinges in your body or waves of unexplained weariness have become background noise, brushed aside as the price of another birthday, pause and listen closer. Your body isn't whispering defeat. It's urging you toward prevention, toward the vibrant years you deserve. Heeding that call early isn't just about dodging tomorrow's crises. It's about amplifying today's joys, stacking the deck for decades of health and vigor in your journey. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 3 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. Mistake 5. Living without purpose. It's no coincidence or mere folklore that individuals who cultivate a strong sense of purpose in their later years consistently outpace their peers in longevity charts, outliving not just by months, but often by meaningful years filled with vitality. This isn't some ethereal magic or unattainable elixir reserved for the lucky few. It's a potent interplay of biology, psychology, and the raw essence of human connection, all converging in understated yet transformative ways to fortify your well-being from the inside out. At its core, purpose acts as an invisible anchor, tethering you to the present while propelling you toward a horizon of possibility. When you rise each morning infused with even a modest why, be it a quiet ritual that brings you peace or a small act of contribution that lights up someone else's day, you ignite a cascade of positive signals across your physiology and psyche. Your brain, that masterful command center, snaps into higher gear, releasing dopamine for motivation and focus, bolstering neuroplasticity to keep pathways sharp and adaptable. Your body responds in kind, urging gentle movement to sustain muscle tone and cardiovascular health, while your heart, both literal and figurative, finds the resilience to persevere through setbacks. It's a harmonious loop. Purpose begets engagement, which in turn sustains the drive to thrive. Tragically, though, this anchor slips away for far too many navigating the landscape of life after 65, often without a single warning flare. Retirement arrives like a long-awaited exhale, the nest empties as grown children forge their own paths, and the once bustling calendar thins to a whisper of obligations. In that newfound quiet, days can insidiously merge into a monotonous haze. Meals grabbed on autopilot, extended naps that blur into evenings, hours lost to the glow of the television screen, or nostalgic scrolls through faded photo albums. The routine feels safe, unassuming, but beneath it, that inner spark, the one that once fueled ambitions, laughter, and bold steps, dims to embers, then ash. Time ticks onward relentlessly, but life? It stalls, suspended in a gentle limbo that masquerades as rest but erodes the soul. Make no mistake, this isn't the natural poetry of aging, with its silver linings of wisdom and leisure. It's a profound disconnection, a stealthy adversary to endurance that rarely makes headlines or doctors' agendas, yet exacts a steep toll on your trajectory. Without purpose as your compass, existence risks devolving into a passive drift, where potential withers untapped and opportunities for growth slip through idle fingers. Purpose, thankfully, demands no grand gestures or Herculean feats, no launching startups, penning bestsellers, or circling the globe in pursuit of adventure. It's profoundly accessible, woven into the fabric of everyday grace. The meditative rhythm of tending a backyard garden, watching seedlings unfurl under your care, the quiet heroism of checking in on a widowed neighbor with a homemade pie and a listening ear, the intellectual thrill of mastering a new skill, like strumming guitar chords from online tutorials or delving into local history through library books, or the irreplaceable role of being the steady rock for grandchildren, the one who shares stories of yesteryear and cheers their every milestone. These aren't obligations, they're lifelines. Purpose infuses your hours with intentionality, crafting a scaffold of structure that wards off aimlessness, infusing meaning that elevates the ordinary, and establishing a heartbeat-like rhythm that syncs body and mind in purposeful harmony. When that lifeline frays, however, the fallout is as physical as it is emotional, a phenomenon researchers have dubbed existential frailty, a term that captures how the void of meaning seeps into your very vitality. It begins subtly, a flagging immune response, where inflammatory markers creep higher and infections linger longer, as if your defenses have lost their zeal. Motivation evaporates, turning once enjoyable walks into chores postponed indefinitely. Social tendrils retract, you demur from coffee dates or community events, convincing yourself it's too much effort, which only deepens the chasm of solitude. Curiosity curdles into complacency. New experiences feel daunting rather than delightful, leading to a voluntary retreat from the world's vibrant tapestry. And as the mind disengages, the body echoes its cue. Muscles soften from disuse, accelerating sarcopenia. Cognitive edges blunt, inviting forgetfulness and inertia, and the elusive butterfly of joy flits just out of reach, leaving a hollow ache in its wake. To bring this into sharp relief, consider Robert, a stoic 78-year-old widower whose world was shattered when his beloved wife of 52 years succumbed to illness. In the raw aftermath, he described it as if an unseen hand had yanked the power cord from his existence. Lights out, motivation flatlined. He shuffled through days in a fog, opting for the path of least resistance. Microwave dinners wolfed down alone, dozing through midday hours in his armchair, and a deliberate avoidance of friends who might probe too deeply with their concern. Social invitations gathered dust. The toolbox from his carpentry days sat buried in the garage, a relic of a life that felt irretrievably distant. He wasn't suicidal, just adrift, existing, but scarcely living. Then, a pivot. His daughter, sensing his quiet unraveling, enlisted him for a seemingly trivial favor. His 10-year-old grandson needed help whittling wooden figures for a school diorama on frontier life, and Robert's forgotten skills as a master craftsman seemed perfect. That first afternoon in the shed, knife in hand and grandson's eager questions filling the air, something stirred, a faint warmth, like sunlight piercing clouds. He demonstrated basic strokes with patient precision, sharing tales of his own youthful projects that had built his trade. Word spread organically. The neighbor's curious son tagged along next, wide-eyed and imitative. Soon, the local community church caught wind and invited Robert to lead a free Saturday workshop for retirees and kids alike, transforming his garage into a humble studio buzzing with laughter and wood shavings. 6 months on, Robert stood taller, his eyes alight with a purpose he hadn't courted but couldn't deny. Pride swelled. Not the boastful kind, but the quiet certainty of making a tangible difference. He dressed with intent each morning, not for show but for the rhythm of creation. Smiles came unbidden during workshop banter, plans unfurled like blueprints, from sourcing affordable tools to brainstorming themes. The bonuses? Measurable miracles. His doctor noted a dip in blood pressure readings, crediting the emotional uplift and incidental activity. Energy surged, powering hikes with his daughter that rekindled old trails. Above all, Robert confided, I feel alive again, like the world's got colors I forgot existed. That's the alchemy of purpose. It transcends fleeting feel-good, weaving a web of longevity that's as robust as it is rewarding. It doesn't merely polish your mood, it fortifies your frame, sparking laughter that lowers stress hormones, nurturing connections that buffer against cognitive decline and cardiac risks, and erecting bulwarks against depression's shadows through shared stories and triumphs. These effects ripple outward, amplifying resilience. Stronger social bonds mean richer emotional support, which in turn sustains physical habits like balanced eating and regular check-ins. It's a virtuous cycle, ignited by one introspective query: what infuses my life with meaning in this season? If retirement's echo feels echoing too loudly, or widowhood's grief has blurred your once clear path, or the rearview mirror of best days behind looms large, halt that script. Reassess with compassion. Your purpose hasn't vanished into the ether. It's evolved, reshaped by chapters closed and horizons shifted. It may lurk beneath layers of mourning for lost roles, ossified routines that once served but now stifle, or the subtle fears of irrelevance in a youth-obsessed world. But it's there, waiting, patient, potent, yours to reclaim. The instant you extend a hand, volunteering at a soup kitchen, journaling reflections on lessons learned, or mentoring via phone calls with emerging artists, your narrative reignites, page by vibrant page. Because the true art of a long life isn't a defiant standoff against mortality's shadow. It's a wholehearted dive into existence, even as its contours soften and surprise. Especially then, when familiarity fades and reinvention beckons, that's the crucible where depth is forged, where every breath pulses with import, and where the years ahead gleam not as a countdown, but as an open invitation to savor, to contribute, to truly live. As we wrap up this journey through the 5 hidden mistakes that could be stealing your shot at those vibrant 85-plus years, take a deep breath and reflect. What have you learned so far that hit home the hardest? Maybe it's the power of those tiny daily movements, the life-saving habit of those preventive checkups, or rediscovering purpose to reignite your spark. Whatever it is, hold on to it tight. Now, I want you to pause right here and think about one key takeaway you're committing to today, something you'll actually bring into practice in your life starting now. Drop it in the comments below this video. What's that one change you're making, and why. Your story could inspire someone else watching to turn things around, too. If you like this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more real talk tips to make your golden years truly golden. Thanks for joining me. Here's to your longer, brighter tomorrow. See you in the next one.